Hello, ladies and gentlemen, my name is Exalted One, and welcome back to the fucking Nexus. In today's video, we are on the PTR with Samuro. He is right now in testing, or on the public test realms, and he's set to release probably next Tuesday, so here on the 18th is his likely date of release. Pretty difficult hero to use in some basic testing, but he is amazingly fun, and the misdirection that you can use is almost like Nova's decoy, but on crack. It's fucking awesome, and this is a hero that I'm really excited about using pretty frequently and trying as hard as I can to try and master him. But let's go ahead and hop in and go over his abilities and where we see him fitting in the game in the current meta. Alright, so we are going to hop in, go over his abilities real quick, and go for the build, as I usually do, that we feel is going to be the best or at the highest of the win rates when he is in standard. Let's go ahead and move my face, do that value thing. Okay, now, Samuro's basic abilities. His Q is Mirror Image. It creates 2 images of himself, deal 30% of your damage, and have half of your health. They last up to 16 seconds, and only 2 of them can be active at a time, so you can't overlap, or they don't go over each other if you're able to reduce the cooldown in any way. So, we can see right here, we have 2 copies of ourselves that Artha sees as just us. So, similar to Nova, where her abilities make her look like she is all the same, like her decoy is pretty similar, that is going to be the same with Samuro, except there are 3 of him. Now, you can just kind of keep shooting that off. It does put you in a bit of a weird spot because it kind of chooses a random location around the cast area. Like, we can reset this. So we're right here, and now we're up here. We're right here, and now we're down here. We're right there, and now we're back down over here. And as far as I can tell, it's really random. There's not like a direct like area that you spawn in. I mean, it might be in the area that you're moving. Nope, I even launched below that. So it just spawns randomly around you in a radius that seems to be kind of in this area here. Because we are going up to the bush, we are going down here. So in a small-ish kind of range, but it's still a little bit crazy to get used to. His W ability is Critical Strike, so similar to like Focused Attack, you can think something like that, where every so many attacks, basic attacks you do, it does increase damage. Similar concept with him, but it is in his base kit, and it's an activated. So you activate it, and your next basic attack within 8 seconds will be a Critical Strike, dealing an extra 50% damage. It does also apply to your copies, or your mirror images. And it does not break Windwalk, so you can, we'll go over that one here in just a second. But you can pop out all of your guys there, and they went 92, 92, and I did 306, and that's at level 20. So increasing your DPS on the flick of a switch, or in this case, the tap of a button. Now, our E ability is Windwalk, so similar to Stealth for Nova or Zeratul, but this one is on command. So instead of waiting to get out of combat for a length of period, you can walk in. We can be right on top of Arthas, hit him with all that we have, decide, oh no, we're losing this, and then just hit that and just run away. And we are immune to being pulled from stealth for the first 1 second. So we're not immune to damage. We can still take damage, absolutely, in that time frame, but we are not broken from stealth for that first second. Your movement speed is increased by 30%, and you can pass through other targets. So as you can see, we can pass right on through Arthas here as we go through him. We can pop around him, do all that kind of fancy stuff here as we like. And again, because we gain the substantial movement speed, you can use that as a defensive tool to be able to get away from people. You can use it as an offensive tool to chase quite effectively on either one of those options. Now, let's go ahead and hop right into his abilities, or excuse me, his talents. So at level 1, we have Way of Illusion. So it is a quest talent, and every time one of your images critically strikes a hero, gains half an attack damage up to 20, and when you complete that, you gain an additional 20. Now, the trait that we have, by the way, as well, is Advancing Strikes. So that does increase your movement speed by 25% by 2 seconds every time you strike a hero. So we can hit one, and then we're moving much quicker. As you can see, that drops off, and our movement speed is quite slower. You hit that one, and then right there, you're moving much, much, much quicker. Okay. And so what that does is critical strike is as passive, by the way, as well to that. Every fourth attack that you do is a critical, no matter what. So you have this little counter that's down here, and it shows you where that's going to go up. 1, 2, 3, and we can just kind of catch up. There's a critical, and then you can immediately follow that up with the actual activated portion of critical strike. So the timing of those is going to be very important to his playstyle to maximize that. But again, back to the talents. Way of Illusion. So every time your images attack and hit with a critical strike, you do gain additional attack damage. So we can go around here. 1, 2, well, there we go. 3, 4. That counts. And so you can see, well, we didn't take it. There we go. Let's go ahead with this. There's 1, 2, and 3, 4. We can hit our W again, and that counts as an additional one there. So it does stack up quite quickly, because we already gained 12 off of there, and that was fairly quick to get those taken care of. And you only need to get that to 40 to gain your additional damage. Now, the other options that we do have at level 1, Way of the Blade. Critical strike happens more often, so instead of the 4 attacks, it is down to 3, and it deals an additional 25% damage on top of that. So let's go ahead and actually reset that talent. Wind Walk just to get this quicker. So 306 without taking any talents, and 357 it looked like at level 20 if you do take that. Now that is not any kind of quest or anything in that regard, and the actual damage increase from Way of Illusion towards the end of that is substantially higher than Way of the Blade. So in almost every scenario that you want to take, Way of the Illusion is going to be better in nearly every kind of fashion. So what else do we have here as well? We have Way of the Wind, where attacking from stealth empowers Wind Walk by the movement speed bonus from 1.25%, excuse me, up to 25. Jesus. And that does increase your stealth and vulnerability, or where you can't be hit in, excuse me, where you can't be dropped from stealth. Jesus, get my words right. For 2.5 seconds instead of 1. Now, yes, it can still be good. Yes, it can help out. But when you're looking to try and increase your burst damage, especially with the Samuro and later talents, you want to try and get that as quickly as possible. And setting a good foundation with your attack damage is going to help that further down the road. So, at least in my pick, Way of the Illusion, absolutely hands down the best in the tier. At level 3, Mirage. So, Mirror Image grants spell block. So, yourself and your 2 images as well gain charges of spell block, reducing damage from the next abilities by 50%, and can hold up to 2 charges. So very, very solid there. You're able to pop your Q and gain 2 charges almost immediately when you do have that. Let's go ahead and take the talent, and right there we gain those 2 right immediately after that. So it does reduce the damage that you take from ability heavy teams or mage comps in particular, or anything with really strong abilities. I come out for you. Now, One with the Wind. Take less damage while wind walking. You take 60% reduced from all sources. That can be very solid if you need to disengage, or if your team is looking or getting their asses kicked. You can use that to get away a little bit easier from damage. But again, the idea is that you don't have much survivability, but your 1E usually should be enough with your copies to be able to get out or to redirect people off of you. And you should be able to move much, much quicker than anyone else, and you should be able to get away without too much difficulty. So not too great of an option there, especially in comparison to spell block. Last one in the tier is Deflection, and advancing strikes reduces incoming attacks. So this is a reduction of 25% damage from basic attacks while our trait is active. So you do need to be in the middle of a fight to have this take effect. Now, where is that going to fit in? So comps that are auto-attack heavy, like against Vala, against Raynor, Tychus, that would be a pretty solid thing, because you're going to be up in their face hitting damage. You can reduce the damage that you take. But in most scenarios, the abilities are going to be the important part to reduce even on some of those heroes there, especially like Vala with Hungering Arrow, etc., etc. So you can go with Mirage, though Deflection is a good number 2 if they are a high auto-attack heavy team that you're facing. But Mirage, now at level 7, it gets a little bit more interesting, and here's where your damage starts to come into play. Now, Burning Blade is an area of effect essentially on your critical strike, and that is for all 3 of these talents that modify your W. So critical strike unleashes a burst of flame, dealing an additional 65% of your basic attack damage to target and the nearby enemies. So if we take that, we can hit, and honestly, I didn't really see much of a difference. I mean, there's a little bit of a cleave. It's like, where is that going to be good? The cleave radius is not that substantial that it's going to do a whole lot for you. 138 is pretty solid, don't get me wrong. It's not terrible. But, in comparison to the others, so let's go ahead and reset that. Way of the Illusion, Mirage. Now, we're going to skip Phantom Feint for just a moment. Crushing Blows. Critical Strike has 2 charges, and you deal an additional 25% of your basic attack damage. So, again, on pretty standard, you hit 371 now. You are able to immediately hit that again and again, and your second auto attack. So the way that you want to weave these in, if you are going to go for Samuro in this particular build, by the way, on the PTR and Tri mode, the W cooldown is not functioning with toggle cooldown, so it's a little tough to get used to. So usually you want to go 1, 2, 3, hit 1, 2, W, critical strike, critical strike. Oh wait, does that not go through? Wait, 1. Oh, okay. So what I was just seeing there is that if you get this up to 2 shots, 1, 2, let's say, and then I go 3, it only hits once, so it skips the entire segment of that. So you want to be aware of where your critical strike is on its natural basis. You can go 2, 3, critical strike, 1, 2, 3, critical strike. So you can increase your damage substantially by just weaving those in at the right time. So you can kind of count those out in your head, or even verbally. Hell, no one's going to be paying attention to you, to maximize your damage from that. Yeah, it can have its place. It's not as good as the other option, which is Phantom Pain, and that increases your damage of critical strike by 40% of your basic attack damage for each image you have active. Now again, we can have 2 of those active, and that's pretty standard for us. Pop both of those, and boom, immediately going up to 488 or 492 damage at this point, because now our images are attacking as well. 497 is insane, and that is on any kind of critical hit that we do. So there's another one, and boom, you're able to knock those off very quickly, because mirror image is going to be a good basis for your playstyle in the first place. So modifying that and increasing your reward for having out your mirror images is going to be a substantial DPS boost for you. So Phantom Pain, hands down, though Crushing Blows can have a place if you are able to weave spells a little bit better than maybe I am at the time being. So again, we can Wind Walk in front of him, though the slow is kind of a bitch,
Well done.
and hit him with the critical strikes. Now, at level 10, 2 options, both actually kind of good. One with a substantially higher skill gap than the other, skill ceiling, I should say. Blade Storm, you become unstoppable, and you do spin around, deal damage in an area. So we can see that here. Pretty crazy. It does do quite a bit of damage, and especially when you are able to go in on someone like Arthas, you can sneak in, and then just cast this right out here. And he's taking quite a bit of damage. It's not like insane or anything. It's not a monster damage. But it does do pretty good, and it is an area of effect, so if your enemies are clumping up pretty frequently or on tight corridor map, that can actually be a really solid option, because the damage you're able to get out on multiple targets does increase exponentially almost on those, and it can be a very great asset to your team to use that. Now, the one that is going to be the most common, I believe, is Illusion Master. Now, this is really where his playstyle takes off in difficulty, because you can control now or micromanage, similar to the Lost Vikings or Rexar, your other 2 copies. So you can control them individually, you can control them as a group, and they deal an additional 20% damage. And you can switch places with a target mirror image once every 6 seconds. So it's a bit of an odd ultimate in that kind of regard, because you are able to do all this. So I am right now over here. Now I can switch over at the farthest one away from me, or I can switch again. And now remind you that I do have cooldowns off at the moment, so I am able to switch between these fairly quickly, or almost immediately. But you are able to switch between those, your actual physical location, at the touch of a button. So we can drop the cooldowns. Now we're at the top here. Arthas is focused on the bottom, but we can switch this at any time, and again, just move in whenever we choose to. And say that we're getting too deep. Oh, well, we can just switch right back out of here, and we're just fine. So, the increase in damage is a little bit ridiculous. Now, on top of that, let's go ahead and toggle cooldowns again. We are able to we're moving this way. So these guys are alone because AI doesn't have anything around them right now. So we can hit 2, move that one. Hit 3, hit that one. Hit 4, we're moving them all together. 1 is right back to Samuro, 2, 3, etc. And you can move them in whatever direction you choose by using your 1 or your number keys in general. It is going to be really difficult to get used to that. Especially if you are like a newer player, it might be a little tough to deal with because there's so much happening at the same time. But the idea is that you can hit your Q, hit 4, you're all commanding everything together. Now the odd part is that moving back and forth between stuff sometimes gets a little bugged out. So it moves it to a second option sometimes. That's not really what you're looking for. But we can move them all together. They did fall, so we're going to go ahead and launch them out again here in just a second. Nope, I'm on the wrong keys. So we can launch everybody out, deal the increased damage that we have. Use our Wind Walk if we choose to do so to try and catch up. And, well, we have cooldowns off, so fuck it. Normally you're not going to be chasing, or Arthas is not likely to have out his area of effect around you. Nor are you likely to play against an Arthas anytime soon. Anyway. The benefit is really, really high to that. The skill gap is much higher because you do have to micromanage each individual copy of yourself, but you are able to gain a substantial amount of mobility, and the damage increase from your copies is definitely worthwhile. An extra 20% of your damage is huge, considering our level 1 talent where we increased our damage again. So it does marry pretty well with the build that we're going for. Now at level 13, we have Mirrored Steel. Basic attacks against enemy heroes reduce the cooldown of mirror image by 1 second. So think of this as a battle momentum, but only for our Q ability. So we have, well, let's set cooldowns. Okay. So we have 15, 14, 13, 12, 10. By the time that we're able to catch up to Arthas and do a bit of damage here, we're at 1 second again and can immediately pop into this. And remember, again, we can control them. So they do not have all that much health. 50% of our health is not all that substantial, but it does give you, again, more utility for that ability. And unless you're tanking tower shots, you're not going to be getting hit that hard. The other options that we do have, let's go ahead and reset. Again, Way of Illusion, Mirage, Phantom Pain, Illusion Master, Kawarimi. Windwalk creates an image at your location that will continue to do whatever you were doing. So we can go ahead and let this go forward. And it goes in a weird direction for some reason. Let's toggle cooldowns, that's weird. Let's say we're attacking him. Let's go ahead and do that. Okay. Well, he keeps attacking him. Alright. Alright. So is that one that we can... Oh... Oh, I didn't realize it was that kind of image. Oh, that might be kind of strong. It'll continue to attack, but you don't have it as well on command, and don't believe as good, really. Though that is really, really interesting. I think that that might be an option for some players, not what I'm likely to go for personally. Shukuchi, looks like. Windwalk teleports a short distance in the area you're facing. So, when we are moving forward, it'll launch us pretty good distance. Not all that far, but, you know, enough to make an impact. If you were needing to get out of something, you're instantly out of that fight, you're stealth, and you are moving way the hell faster than they can. So, again, good if you're looking to disengage or to run away a whole lot. Not my kind of style. I want to be in the fight and doing as much as I can. That got a lot better, realizing that was a full image. But Mirrored Steel is going to be my personal option. I believe that the cooldown reduction that you gain is almost invaluable. At level 16, Merciless Strikes. Always critically strikes slowed, rooted, or stunned targets on your basic attacks. Now, that's essentially like Executioner on any other hero. But when you remember that a critical strike is 50% damage, that's 50% on every auto attack, and that applies to your images, which is absurd. We're not going to really be able to show that off in a try mode because we have no slows ourselves on Samuro. But if you are playing with, say, like a Jaina or a Muradin that has his smash around him, Thunderclap, if he does have Thunderclap and can slow down those enemies, you are able to gain a huge, huge value out of Merciless Strikes. And that, by far, would be the best option to go if you are on a team that does have that kind of at your back. Harsh Winds is another option that I would personally choose. These all three, honestly, are really good talents. So Harsh Winds, attacking hero from Windwalk, cause them to take 30% increased damage from you and your images for 3 seconds. So think almost as like a vulnerable on your enemy when you engage or use your E as an engage instead of a disengage. So look at how much damage we're able to put out on Arthas that quick. And we are able to grab everybody with our 4 and move them forward into battle even further. Now, we do have cooldowns on regular, and already we have back our abilities. We're able to come in here, do a bit, but he is going to run away there. So, very, very high increase to your damage, or at least your burst damage, with Harsh Winds. Now, Merciless Strikes is going to increase your sustained damage on targets, especially if you have that kind of support on your team that is slowing them down or something like that. So if you're on a team, say, that's like the perfect scenario where you have like Rhaegar as a healer because of slow totem, you're able to do that increased damage. Muradin is a tank because he has to slow people down with his W. With his Q, he is going to be stunned. Malfurion even as a healer because he can root everyone. You can increase that damage exponentially on those kind of targets. Or even like a Jaina would be very, very solid for your team. Now the last one that we have at this tier is Press the Advantage, I believe is the name. Mirrored Still. Press the Attack, excuse me. So while Advancing Strikes is active, basic attacks increase your attack speed by 15% up to 60%. So again, this is only an increase on your damage to enemy heroes. So that is how you gain the active. But it does increase your attack damage substantially. Now again, we want to try and move this forward. Okay. It's good. Don't get me wrong, it's good. But if you're going to jump out on someone, likely they're going to try and walk away from you, and sometimes that can spell doom for you. So not the one that I'm going for in most situations, though I think a lot are going to lean towards this because the attack speed increase is pretty substantial. 60% is a huge amount, but when you're thinking 50% additional damage on those strikes, the smaller window of opportunity that you have is going to hit much harder. Increasing by 30% and your images for 3 seconds is a huge increase. So Press the Attack seems much less valuable, at least in my opinion, than the others in this option, or in this tier. Mirrored Steel. Harsh Winds, unless you have that kind of scenario where you have slows, you have roots, you have something that is CC or slows on your team. Now, at level 20, Dance of Death. Your images use Blade Storm when you do. So we'll go Wave Illusion, Mirage, Phantom Pain, Blade Storm, Mirrored Steel, Harsh Winds again, still unless you have the slows again. Merciless Strike would be better at that point, but Dance of Death. You can see we can pop these out. Oh, let's go ahead and catch up to him. And we'll go ahead and Blade Storm, and that is with all 3 of our beauties here. Now, we can't use them as we would when we have Master, the other ultimate, so we can't control them. Though we do gain a substantial DPS increase, especially in tight corridors. When the team's all bunched up, you're able to do a lot of damage. But the utility that you get out of your other Illusion Master talent is, in my opinion, much, much better. So again, Mirage, Phantom Pain, Illusion Master, Mirrored Steel, Harsh Winds, again, unless you have the opportunity. Now, 3-Blade Style. Your images gain an additional 50% of your health and last twice as long. So before they were at 16 seconds, that doubles them and also doubles their health. So it makes them much harder to hit, or excuse me, much harder to kill and deal with as a standard basis. Now this is a little bit goofy because Arthas does have the slow around him, not able to do as much as we would in Chase as we would to other heroes. I mean, we can always change that, but Arthas has been the tried and true enemy of the tri-mode. So, 3-Blade Style, pretty cool. Pretty awesome, actually. So they can last for, as you can see, quite a long fucking time. Good in most scenarios. Not, again, what I'm going to be going for personally. In most cases, it still is absolutely viable. You can definitely pick it up. You would not go wrong in many scenarios. What I like here, Blade Master's Pursuit first, we'll cover that one. Advancing Strikes grants an additional 15% bonus movement, and its duration is increased by 2. So you're able to keep up very, very well with enemy heroes, and it lasts for longer. Able to increase your chase potential exponentially. You can do a lot of good work with that. What I'm going to enjoy, though, is Wind Strider, and this balances out with the one that we go at 16 with Harsh Winds. So, right now we have cooldowns on normal, so we are able to come in on him, launch our friendlies here, our copies. We're able to immediately kind of move out, reposition again, and get right in front of him. Now, when we use that, it does last for 8 seconds. So when you're thinking that the cooldown is normally 12, it's at 6 seconds. By the time that this is even done, we're able to use it again. So we're in stealth, we're in stealth, we're in stealth. We're still in stealth, and we have our cooldown already ready to go. And remember that Samuro does not have mana as any normal hero would. Instead, he does have... Whoa, we got de-stealth there. That was poorly done by myself. Instead, he does just have his cooldowns. So nothing that's going to be too substantial there for us to have to worry about mana or spamming our abilities. So, what this does for you is it increases not only your damage by Harsh Winds at 16, which is substantial, by the way. Thinking that your downtime for your increased damage of 30% is only 3 seconds in between casts is fucking ridiculous. That's so much increased damage. And on top of that, if you're in a bad situation, or maybe you're attacking, you're using Windwalk offensively, as we're doing here, you're able to escape immediately after that. So we are able to relatively body block the shit out of Arthas. And already, if we were in trouble against this team, we're able to go right back into stealth and get the hell away. Because we still have the increased movement speed. He's absolutely insane with that. The ganking potential alone is ridiculous. When you can think about, okay, we're just sitting in this bush waiting. We see someone that's coming out. I mean, Arthas is going to push back, but we can go ahead and catch right on up to him. Pop these all out. Move in here. If we choose to switch over to this one here, we can. We can go right back in. And again, 3, 2, 1. And we're in stealth. Right out of those towers, right out of any kind of chase that Arthas is going to be able to provide. And we're all the way back at our core before we're de-stealthed. And we already had our cooldown before we even hit our gate. That is incredible. Incredibly strong. The level 20 talent, I mean, obviously you do have quite a few different good options at 16 and 20. But reducing that cooldown absolutely maximizes your utility in the game. For your escapes, for your engages, for your gank potential is insane. But ladies and gentlemen, that is Samuro once again, the build that we would be looking at, and I think that it's going to be quite popular once people get used to him and he does release into the game. Way of Illusion at level 1, increasing our overall attack damage. Mirage, granting spell block to ourselves and to our images. Phantom Pain at level 7, increasing the damage by 40% for each image that we have active, so a total of 80% additional damage on that basic attack every time that we critical strike. Because that is all critical strikes. So an increase of 80% on each one, which is absolutely fucking absurd. And even if one of your images dies, it's still a 40% increase, which is ridiculous. Now, Illusion Master. Images can be controlled. You can individually micro them around or control them as one unit. And they deal an additional 20% of your damage. So again, increasing your overall DPS. Mirrored Steel at level 13. That is going to reduce your cooldown on your Q ability or your images. And 13, Harsh Winds. Though Merciless Strikes, if you do have the team comp for slows, roots, stuns, any of that kind of stuff at all, absolutely be going for Merciless Strikes. That is a huge damage increase. But if not, or if you just want to have a little bit of variety kind of built in, Harsh Winds is going to be the best option in my opinion. And at level 20, Wind Strider, almost hands down for most scenarios, reducing the cooldown of your E, which is your primary escape, by 6 seconds, which is a little bit ridiculous. Now, ladies and gentlemen, that is Samuro in the PTR as he stands right now. Obviously, that is subject to any changes that may come about in the next few days. But if you did like the video, or at least learn something of a sort, drop a like. If you are new to the channel, definitely subscribe. We do these every time a new hero is introduced to the game. A quick look, and then we follow that up after release with a quick match video to boot. But my name, everyone, is Exalted One. Thank you so much for stopping by, and we'll see you all next time in the Nexus.